And just like that, it's another week in the trenches, and here we go. And look who's number 2 with his new improved aerodynamic look for the summer. Mr. John Hebert, artist of The Punisher and X-Men. Marvel. How you doing, sir?
How are you, Steve?
Tired.
One that going around, I'm afraid.
Oh my goodness, I tell you, the world is finally waking up, and it's like, let's make Steven run around like a chicken and his head cut off.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to get ready for the shows. I heard that the Washington State show was a fantastic turnout. And our artists, we had 3 representatives there, Mustafa Musa, Joe Rubenstein, and Chad Harden. And they all had rather sizable smiles and lighter luggage on the way home. So they were all happy indeed. Hopefully they've recovered from their show hangover to join us today.
I hope so.
All right, let's run through the motions, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to MBartist Alley Live. I am your host, Stephen Ahola, and right next to me, as I've already stated, wrong way, I keep forgetting. Over there, in number 2, and just like that, number 3 comes on. Pop culture artist, villains extraordinaire. And just that close to having the first sold out art print with MBartist, Jamie Coker. How you doing, sir?
I'm good. How you doing, John?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
So we were just doing our initial welcomes to everybody out there in streaming land. If you're watching us, you're probably watching us on our MBartist Alley YouTube channel, our Facebook channel, or if we're pinned to the top, the Collector's Toy Shop. So we want to welcome everybody wherever you're watching us out there in the real world while we sit indoors. I don't know about you guys, but it's a beautiful day in the Great White North. Yeah, how about you, Jamie?
Oh, not bad. What was it? It's in the 80s, I think, today.
It's a little chilly here.
80s.
A little chilly, but we'll take it.
Yeah. Tell me, in Minnesota, are you guys starting to kill those mosquitoes with tennis rackets again?
Oh gosh, in some areas, but by my house, not too much. Not too bad, actually.
Not too bad. That's good. Anyways, guys, let's get to it. Ladies and gentlemen, not only are we here to entertain and discuss the world of whatever strikes our fancy, we also draw. We draw for a living.
Well,
and we have featured art prints, and we want to share them with you. Here we go. Let's go through it. We will start with Mr. Bob McLeod's Fantastic Four, Doom of Galactus.
I was staring at that one on Facebook.
I know, it's pretty, isn't it? We've got Chad Harden's Hellbringers.
Nice.
I don't know what that demon's looking at, but we've got Francine Delgado's Women of the Force.
Very cool.
Okay, Mr. Coker. What's
the
story?
Okay. All right. So the story behind this one. We, as we're doing shows, people always come and they ask, do you have this character? Do you have that character? And a lot of the characters featured in this one were popular requests. So it was just a matter of, you know what? Why don't we just put them all together? That way, if people say, oh, do you have any Avatar? Do you have any SpongeBob? I'll be like, oh, yeah. You know what? I've got Avatar, SpongeBob, Danny Phantom, Rocco's Modern Life, whatever you want. It's all on one thing. I took care of a bunch of wants all at once.
I don't know who that green lizard is, but I love his expression. It's just like, ah.
Oh, Reptar from Rugrats.
Oh, really? Do you know what that pose reminds me of? Do you remember the commercial?
Oh, God. Yeah, I remember.
Malfunction. I'll be a minute.
Oh, we got a wardrobe malfunction on camera 2. Camera 2, we have a wardrobe malfunction. And, oh, no. Now we got to... The wardrobe malfunction are so out to lunch that he had to turn off the camera. We don't need any episode 1 repeats here.
Oh man, there we go.
Skylar Homer wants to know: are these 11 by 17? These are 12 by 18. We have various sizes, Skylar. We have art prints which is 12 by 18. The images are 11 by 17, but we like to give you a little extra something to put it in a frame if so desire. We also have platinum prints. We're very, very shiny. And then we have canvases. We have 4 sizes of canvases. We have 12 by 18. We have 14 by 26. Then the big guns, 27 by 40, which is basically movie poster size. And then the big guy, the 40 by 60. And those are on our patented, very, very special to us, MB Art Switch, where you can swap it in and out the inserts. So, Skylar, feel free to check out MBartist.com for more. And thank you for asking. We appreciate it. Let's move on to the next one as inker DC Marvel. Mustafa Musa has joined us. Have you recovered from your Washington hangover, sir?
I only had a few days to get ready for my next show in Albuquerque. Can you guys hear me okay, by the way?
You're a little quiet, but we hear you.
All right. Okay. So I only had a few days. So I came home at midnight and I was ready to rock and I was getting my stuff ready. And then I woke up the next morning and I felt great and I was getting my prints ready and all of that. And then I took 3 naps like an old man on the couch.
So the next stop is in Albuquerque?
Albuquerque this weekend. Yep.
All right. Well, if you see Bugs, make sure he goes the right way this time. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I'm sure you have never heard that joke before.
I've made it.
Took a wrong turn on the way to Albuquerque. Took a wrong turn on the way to Albuquerque.
You know, I know that Bugs always makes a wrong turn to Albuquerque because on the way he saw John. Anyways, let's move along to the next one. We have Joe Rubinstein's Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Nice.
John, you know what? I love this piece, and I've got a little add-on for it, but let's hear from you. What's the story behind this one?
It was commissioned for a friend of mine. Geez, that's got to be going back 7 or 8 years ago now. Out Boston way, and it was done oversized. Maybe later I'll do show and tell and show what the pencils look like and the huge Xerox on my studio wall. I'm staring at it right now across the room. It was done, I think, 20 by 30.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a big one, and I wanted to ink it myself, and he said, no, I can't remember who he had, Scott Williams or Terry, somebody who had worked on an X-Men book also who had a bigger name than me to ink it. I said, oh, that'd be really cool. Well, I don't know if he ever had it done or not, so I ended up inking it, Xeroxing it way down, part and parcel at Kinko's, on their big machine, and then inking it on an overlay, which I'm never a huge fan of. But then once the color was put in, it's like, wow, really pops.
It does. It works really well. And if I can add to the story on this one, we originally sent it to the colorist. When it initially came back, it was the multicolored neon X-Men.
Oh my God. Yeah. And the ice slide was brown. Remember that?
It was Sandman.
Yeah. The ice slide was brown. It was like something that crept out of the sewer. The costumes weren't right. It's bright now. It looks like it could be on the side of a 70s Dodge van, but it was just loud originally, but we art directed it and he did a good job, and I think it really pops.
Well, the one thing we can say is the colorist did get one thing right on the first pass, and that was Storm's butt.
Well, yeah.
You nailed that part.
Oh, man.
I think we all did.
Oh,
and on that sad note, on to the next one.
Cut to the dancing pigs like on Hee Haw.
All right, going from adult content to PG-13, Mustafa.
Well, I'm sure there was adult content hidden in the cartoons back in the 80s. We just didn't know it. We were kids, But yes, everything 80s, bless you.
Thank you. Sorry.
Everything 80s, just all the stuff I grew up watching as a kid. And it's one of my favorite things that I've worked on.
No, it's and this is actually one of your best sellers. I do have a question on this one, though.
What's up?
So who did the colors on this one?
That is Hedwin Zaldivar, one of my favorite guys to work with.
Okay, so you see the back part of the gun?
Yeah, I noticed it too. Yeah.
Did he mistake that for a shoulder?
Hey, you know what's good for selling artwork? Pointing out mistakes.
I still want to know who's throwing those ninja stars in the Turtles piece.
Okay, the way I look at it, it's Raphael throwing the ninja stars and then grabbing the size. So it's like that, That's how I look at it. But it's harder to.
Oh, you know what? You can make fun of me when I bring up my Babar.
I would, but I don't know what you bring up most of the time. I'm like, this is like, you're not that much older than me, but it feels like way.
Well, I am that much older than you because if you watched this as a kid, I worked on it.
Oh,
So.
I know Bar. Okay, that I know. Yeah. That's awesome.
No, but you can feel free to make fun of me all you want. I had to watch every episode.
Sorry.
Hey, man, 2002 was a very monotone year for me. Franklin, Little Bear, and Babar back to back to back.
Yeah. That's, we all got
Anyway, yeah. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, those are our featured art prints. Let's bring all 9 back up. If you're asking, Steve, how can we get one of these fun beauties? Kick saving a beauty at that. We're going to tell you, number one, we want to hear from you as we're chatting, just like Skylar and Norm has already done. Give us your comments as we do our conversation. Ask some questions, and we're going to give you, for each one you do, we're going to add your name into a hat. I don't know if it's a literal hat, but a figurative hat. And then at the end of the show, we're going to draw your name, and the winner will be able to choose one of the 9 art prints here. Not only that, but if you want one of these now, just say claim whichever one you want. For example, claim Coker. Claim Coker. The lovely Love Jeet will take care of you out in the pit in the comments section. And number 3, the third way, go to MBartist.com. And if you put in on the checkout free shipping, you're going to get free shipping on any one of these 9 pieces, whether it be fine art, platinum, or very, very special to us, canvas, Justly canvas art prints, which gives your mouth a workout every time you say it. Say it with me, Jamie. Justly canvas art prints. And that's no, he didn't want to play. All right, guys. So those are the 3 ways. Those are the 3 ways to claim. And look at that. We got a 4 square going on here, nice and light. Mustafa. So when we opened up, we were talking about how Washington State was really great. How we were represented by yourself, Chad Harden, and Joe Rubenstein. I've had the chance to teach. I actually talked to Chad. He called me today. It was awesome.
Oh, awesome.
I was like, great. Now you don't have to turn the page and find Waldo. You just wave over here. Talk to me about Washington State. How was it?
Can you guys hear me better now, by any chance?
A little bit better.
Same?
Yep. It's better than it was.
Okay.
It's
All right.
off, but you hear better. And you look very professional.
Better than it was. I'll take it. I was coming from an event. Sorry, I was a little dressed up. So let's see. I've been to Seattle 4 or 5 times, and they support art like almost nobody else. They support art. They support artists. They don't flinch about spending money. It's great, and I had an amazing time. I was in Puyallup, which is I guess how it's supposed to be pronounced, and it's like a suburb of Seattle. So I was like, maybe I'll just not bring as much. I'll bring a few things, and I sold out of stuff on Friday. It was amazing. Show. Best show I've ever had west of Texas.
Really?
That's awesome. So would you consider that the first big show since the pandemic? Because I know you and Joe and Jamie have a lot of smaller shows. Would you say that's the biggest show so far? That's
in the country?
Yeah, thus far.
Or for me personally? For me personally, absolutely. For the country, I guess so. Yeah.
You could almost say that this was
because you saw Chris. Well, because you saw Chris Claremont come out, and you saw like Jim Starlin come out, and so like and they were saying how they hadn't done a show in a year and a half, and those are some headliners as far as Comic-Cons go.
Right. So just out of curiosity, were people wearing masks at all?
A few. They were encouraged to wear them, especially if they had got shots, but I think everybody got shots, so
nobody was wearing a mask.
It was a little less than half, probably.
Except for that guy in the hockey mask.
A little, like 25%, 30%.
And the William Shatner mask.
Joe had his mask on.
Joe, you had a mask on?
On and off.
On and off.
Did you? So we were just talking about how the Washington State show, which is probably the largest show so far since the pandemic hit, how it was a big success. How was it for you, Joe?
It was a big success.
Great. Succinct as always. Ladies and gentlemen, Joe Rubenstein, the legendary inker and painter extraordinaire is in the house.
Right. Hello.
Hello. All right.
Wow.
Hello. Anyways, Mustafa, Joe wanted me to convey to you he was very disappointed that you didn't take him out for dinner.
I didn't say that, but it's true.
I honestly and truly, Friday when I got to the hotel, I was like, man, if there was just like any place to eat, there was nothing close by. We would have had to like track something down. Nothing's walking distance over there. But I did have it in the back of my head.
And you had a lovely friend for the rest of the convention, so I understand your prayer.
Oh, Ariel was at the show too. Yeah, we were looking for a place to eat, and it was hard to find.
Eventually, I had to do second best and go to dinner with Starlin. So,
well.
Oh, sorry.
It's like saying, oh, I got shunned by the girl next door, so I'm gonna take the model.
I'm glad you said that. I didn't say.
Am I the girl next door in this? Okay.
You're Marianne, buddy. Starlin's definitely Ginger.
No. I'm a Marianne guy.
Oh, you're a Marianne guy?
He's definitely Mrs. Howard.
I like Marianne.
Wow.
Ooh.
Love it.
That's it. From now on at the shows, everybody has to call Mustafa Lovey. Hello, Lovey. Welcome to the show.
Oh my God. Absolutely.
Do we have a counter to find out how many people watch this show? Like, do our ratings go up?
No, I don't need a counter.
Oh my God, you've done it again.
Well, I see 5, so we got 5 of us, right?
We got 5 of us. I don't need a counter until I run out of fingers, so I think we're good. Brandon and Basil have joined us, ladies and gentlemen. They've added into the comments. So, guys, I know we haven't really started a conversation yet, other than the shows, but we're looking forward to getting more out to the country. We do have shows such as, well, for me personally, my first big show is going to be MegaCon. Do you have any shows between now and then, Jamie?
Yeah. The first weekend in July, there's Anime Midwest in Rosemont. Then after that, Crypticon in Kansas City, MetroCon in Tampa, and then Raleigh Galaxy Con. And then Atlanta Comic Con. So there's a few.
And then we hit MegaCon, right?
Yep.
How about you, Mustafa? So he's got the mystery machine all ready to go for 2021. I hope you've got fresh tires, checked on the brakes, make sure there's no hole in the oil. How about you, Mustafa?
Yeah, I'm actually doing 6 shows in 4 weeks in Texas in July. So I'll be sending people back and forth. It's going to be a fun time. It's going to be busy. Yeah, and I'm driving to all of them. I'll be doing my Jamie impression.
Oh, there you go. I got a feeling you can't pack like he does, man. One of these days, Jamie, you're going to have to do one of those speed time passages as you pack up that van, just so that the world can see how you and Trish play Tetris.
Trish has actually been wanting to do that for quite a while, but every time that we talk about doing it, we're just like, oh, there's always so much stuff to do that it just slips your mind.
You're doing 6 shows in 4 weeks? How do you do that?
So I'm setting up at one show. One show is 3 days. The other show is 2 days. So I'll be at one show for 1 day, and then I'll have some friends watch that table while I go to the other show for 2 days. And then there's another one that's happening Saturday night, and I'll be going there after doing the one earlier in the day. I'm not
but you're the selling point. For you to have your friends watch your table is not as good as you being there. It's like
I appreciate that, and I agree with you.
So sorry,
honestly, 90% of the people, they don't care about who the artist is. They just look at art and they're like, okay, this is good. 10%, yes, absolutely.
10% they don't even care that it's good. They just go, oh, I need a Wolverine drawing for my grandkid, and they buy it.
There is some of that too. Yeah, there is some of that.
And he actually has some fans that think his friend is actually him. No? All right, I'm all alone here. All right, anyways, let's move on. Joe, do you have any shows between now and MegaCon?
I'm going to the flea market at the Rose Bowl and put up a sign saying, "Please talk to me."
I think you'd have better luck if you just held up the sign that says "The end is nigh."
Okay. I don't know that people know what nigh is, but it's pretty close.
Well, they'd stop and tell you spelt night wrong.
The only conventions I'm aware of are the ones with you.
Oh, so sorry.
You would know.
Yes, of course. And for us, the first one will be Orlando MegaCon, which is we're very excited about. And I believe it's 4 days for this year. So that's going to be awesome. And we've got pretty good prime positioning, and that'll kickstart our 12 shows in 6 months. So it's going to be quite the gallivant across the country. So, but anyways, what I wanted to talk about is I had a thought, and this actually spurred, and yes, I do have thoughts occasionally. This spurred from Mustafa and Francine's whiz. They took a whiz together, and I wanted
That's the last one. That's it. You have limits.
All right, I will hold it from now on.
It's not the last one. You know it's not the last one.
I'm hopeful.
All right, but if you see me starting to dance, that means I really gotta. But I wanted to talk about the transition between pencils and inks in terms of how to go about them. So
Like this. Okay.
there you go. And we've got two
just watch
very
Joe.
accomplished inkers. We have 2 very accomplished inkers, and then John, I would probably classify you're more of a penciler than an inker, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Jamie, you're jack of all trades. Hey, you're better than me, man. I'm a wannabe.
I'm a jack off of all trades, but go ahead.
Yeah, but we're not keeping track, Joe. We're not keeping track.
Okay. Thank you. Oh wait, I forgot to
Okay.
wash my hands.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a good thing Francine can't make it today.
Really? I'm going.
No, she can't.
The only reason I come is for Francine.
Oh, really? Uh-oh. All right, she's coming then. Don't leave yet.
And Bob McLeod. Maybe they're off together on a day.
For 12 minutes.
I've always heard Bob was a 12-minute man anyway.
Oh, that's better than most.
Hey, I'm a 60-minute man. Just ask any woman I dated. They all say the same thing. Oh, God, he was all night long. Oh, God, what a man.
And
Jamie, did you get the reference?
it's been 60 minutes, John. Can you leave? I mean, that's enough.
How can I miss you if you won't leave, right?
Right.
Was the stopwatch ticker going while you said that? John Hebert and Judy Stahl, all this on 60 Minutes.
Yes.
Anyways, let's get back to. So I wanted to talk about the roughs versus the inks in terms of the process, and I know that Joe and Mustafa had touched on it before, but the one thing that came to my mind is, and let's jump right into you, Mustafa, in terms of your process. When you get a rough, like, do you actually ink on the rough, or do you make a copy of the rough? What's your process?
Who are you asking first? Are you asking me first?
Mustafa, yeah.
It's
I
age
Yeah,
before
okay.
beauty, Mustafa.
All right, sorry.
All right.
So then shouldn't it be? Okay, never mind. So let's see. I will work, however, I'll work from a thumbnail. I'll work from a rough. I'll work from a digital printout. It doesn't really matter. Like when I first started, I was doing light boxing, which I don't really prefer. But it's the technology that existed at the time, but I don't know. I try to be versatile. It's similar tools depending on what you're using. It's just different approaches. So if it's like you said, if it's roughs, then you have to do some penciling. You can either do it in pencils or you can do it in the inks, but you have to finish, what was indicated, what was started. And if it's, sometimes it's completely finished and it just needs a guy to like take it to the finish line, and I can do that too.
But you don't do the original roughs, right? You always make a copy and never ink right on top of a rough.
No, No. I mean, depending. Yeah. Sometimes, like with the Mando print, I did the layout. I did the rough. I sent it to my my buddy, and he kind of fleshed it out, and then I took it from there and finished it. So there's no real set way to do it. There's no right way. There's no wrong way. There's probably wrong ways, but like there's a lot of different ways. So yeah, I don't know if that's the answer you're looking for, but like there's like a ton of answers for it. I mean, I'm sure everybody here has their own way of doing things.
Well, we're going to go around the horn because Joe, same question to you, because if anybody has probably the most diverse over the evolution of technology, it's you.
Yeah, when we started, I used the technology we have. We used to carve it into stone. And
fire. There was fire too.
I'll give you these 10
I
commandments.
remember when we invented fire, the light really helped a lot. It was great. What
you can work at night that way.
By rough? Because I'm sure your rough thinking is not my rough thinking. So,
are you referring to Mustafa or to me?
No, I'm referring to you. What's a rough in your estimation? Because I don't know.
Well, the rough. The reason why I thought about this was in terms of originals, right? Because a big selling point for an artist is being able to take their original and being able to resell it. And I know for myself, I did a rough of a King Arthur, and then I scanned it because I'm in a different country, sent it to Mustafa, and he did the inks. So the question is like, I want to talk about this twofold. It's like, if you do the inks right off and right on top of the original, who has ownership? Who gets to sell it? How does that work?
Right, but
so I mean, I can answer that.
But were you sending roughs or were you sending finished pencils to be inked?
Right, that's a good question.
Were they ambiguous? Were they sketchy? Or were they all finished? Because rough to me.
So I would say it's. I think what he means is. Right, I think what he means is kind of layout is what he's talking about. Like rough, is that what you mean, Steve? Like rough and layout, kind of similar.
Yeah, like I understand that when you say a rough, there's the drawing isn't tight enough, right? So possibly, like, let's take from the example that's maybe Mustafa will tell you I was rough, but whatever I sent Mustafa and Francine sent Mustafa as compared to last week when you did your conversation in terms of what you got in terms of the Wolverine #1. Like I understand there's a contrast there. So let's talk in terms of a resellable piece.
I think the general consensus is that an inked page on Blue Line is about worth 40% of if it had been done directly onto the pencils touched by the penciler, right? So basically you're paying for somebody who touched a piece of paper and then handed it to another guy who touched a piece of paper. And then there are people who will just collect the pencils, and if they're smart, they'll go get them ink,
Right.
But as far as rough,
I would counter it if the penciler drew it. If the penciler drew it digitally, then there's no original pencils to sell.
Right.
And so that's and a lot of that is what I work on.
And I've heard of one guy, he makes out of one print of whatever it is he drew and says 1 of 1. I will never do this again. So this is as close to the original as it gets. But then again, I wonder people buy giclées and people buy prints and etchings and all that stuff. But I don't know that a computer.
Would you like to come up with my etchings?
Yeah. Isn't there like a movement now where they're printing comic book stuff as a one-time only digital piece of art now?
Oh, NFTs?
Yeah, whatever that is.
Yeah.
I don't know. Are they really worth anything? Should they be worth anything?
Well, people are paying money for them. Essentially, the act of encrypting them in code on a blockchain, people seem to think that creates a value to it. But the issue with the NFTs is like you can say it's a 1 of 1 all you want, and that's somebody else. The whole theory of that is that if I buy one of your NFTs and it's a 1 of 1 on my blockchain, and I decide to resell that, you get a percentage of that resell, no matter how many times it gets resold. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to convert that 1 of 1 blockchain art into a kind of like a resellable item.
A collectible. Okay.
Yeah, it's a collectible. Yeah,
right.
But it's like stock, right?
Right. Now you've pissed off Mustafa. He's gone. Okay.
And I'm back.
Oh, now he's echoey.
You guys
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I prefer to work on actual pencils because they're quite literally is an energy that comes off the paper. And by seeing the way that the penciler used the side of his pencil or the point of his pencil, or he bore down hard or soft, there's a language that's going on that I prefer. And when you do blue lines, you can work on it, but it's sort of a layer of sterility happens, you know. Right now, I'm doing this Dick Giordano Batman, right? But what the client did was he traced it onto a piece of paper, giving me a lot of room to interpret what I want. Well, I'd rather have just inked the pencils, of course, you know. And on the other hand, I'm doing this thing for you guys. And the pencils are all there, you know, I drew it, but I'm also, the luxury is because I drew it, I can change anything I want. If I were inking John's pencils, then I feel an obligation to follow his concepts and to give him the respect that he deserves. Now He's
the one.
What? I'm the one?
You're the
right?
one.
Right. Now I may move a muscle an 1/18 of an inch over, or I may overlap something. I may make something a little thicker. Or if, let's say, somebody's like got wings, I may use my brush to be a little bit more expressive. But I want to respect the pencils the way I would want to be respected if I had drawn it. And also, inking's really boring. I mean, it's black, it's a line, you cover somebody else's stuff. If I do it always the same way, it really bores me. So my motivation is to try to get into the head of the penciler and say, now what did they want? And how do I alter my approach to accommodate what's in front of me? Just like as an actor, if you're doing Neil Simon, you don't ink the same way as you do Strindberg, you know, or a farce. You may be using all the same tools, but you have to accommodate the venue in effect.
Right. And Joe is telling the truth, because when he and I worked together that one time on my final issue of X-Men Adventures, he called me at I think it was midnight, 1 a.m, working, and said, you know, I just wanted to talk to you about this stuff. Is there anything special you want? Is there anything that was on your mind? And we ended up just talking about comics and work in general overall, because I was just so happy with the idea that Joe was going to ink me. And that's not nonsense. It's really true. That was, I think that was my final Marvel work, basically. And it was just so cool because I'd known Joe. He was one of my favorite inkers. And the fact that he called me up and wanted to talk to me about the work was important. And he really did feel that strongly about wanting to keep the DNA of it the way I wanted it.
Well, let's continue.
So Joe ended your Marvel career?
What's that?
So Joe ended your Marvel career?
Joe ended my Marvel career. Yeah, he put the nail in the coffin.
And I can end you too. Okay.
Oh no, that's already on the
all right.
But let's continue that thread. I think we're on something very, very cool and interesting. So in terms of the other end, John, when you are penciling, and you are you come up with the layout, the vision, and do you want to know who the inker is going to be, and does that dictate how far you're willing to make the pencils tighten up?
It should. You know, basically the last few years with what work I've done, I'm probably 9 times out of 10, 99 times out of 100, I'm inking myself. So I pretty much know what I want. But yet, as Joe can testify, I still try to put everything in there. I still try to dot every I, cross every T. We told the story about the one time I put X's in a checkerboard floor, and the inker, whose name shall remain nameless, Greg Adams, ended up inking the X's.
How does he not know? I knew that as a teenager. I mean, wow.
And he was calling me every night or every day. We'd talk about stuff, you know. And I said to him, you know, why didn't you mention that to me when the day that you got those pencils? Well, you'd always colored everything in before. I figured if there was an X on there, that's what you wanted. And I was gobsmacked. And I remember I called the office and told them, I said, you know, you need to have somebody in production coloring those squares. Oh, we'll take care of it. And then I got the book. No, you know, but whatever. So,
oh, please, for the love of God, tell me what book.
it was X-Men Adventures, the one with oh God. What's the name of the villain that had the plague? The one where they had the mutant plague that was going to attack. The one, the two-parter was Cable anyway.
Bishop?
No. Bishop was in it, but there was the guy with the gray face. I can't think of his name now. But Was it Apocalypse? Yeah, I guess it was Apocalypse. They were on the floor of Congress, and it was a top page, a panel, like that, a horizontal panel with the X-Men and some other people standing on this floor, and it's a black and white checkerboard tile floor, and there's X's inked.
Did the colorist at least fill in the squares, or was it all one color?
I think no, they did like the squares that had the X's. I think were blue, but you still saw them.
All right, at least he
and that was heartbreaking. But the thing is, I always I start off with doing a little thumbnail on scratch paper if I'm on the phone or something, and I'll kind of work on that until I get to the point where it's basically an 8.5 by 11, and then I'll Xerox it up to almost the size I want, because I tend to want to draw bigger, and it gives you a little more leeway with space and movement if you want to expand something, and also to leave room for a logo if it's a cover. And then I will trace it. I'll plagiarize myself and pencil it out, and I pencil very tightly again, as we just discussed. But then even though I'm inking it, I still try to do something, because for one thing, it's fun, because I don't get to do as much as I used to anymore, because it's not my full-time gig. So when I get to draw something, I try to really be in the mood and put something into it. And it's therapeutic for me, because at one point I really enjoyed drawing. I genuinely did, which is why I got into business. And then it became not so much fun, but when I'm able to, and I have the time, I really like to put everything in, as we know. Then I will ink it. But even though everything's laid on the page for me, and this is how I want it, then it's almost like another part of my brain turns on when I ink it. And sometimes it'll come out completely differently than I envisioned it in my head. Sometimes it's almost just a tracing thing. I'm a tracer. Other times, there's a Batman Punisher piece that you had colored, Steve. Do you remember that?
Yep.
Okay. That came out completely different in the inks than it did in the pencils. I might as well have just done breakdowns, because it became a drawing with the brush.
Right.
And sometimes that's a bad thing, and sometimes it's a very cool thing. That time, I think it worked out pretty well.
Well, let's go over to Jamie and get him involved in the conversation, because Jamie, I think you pretty much ink everything that you do, don't you?
Yeah.
So talk to me in terms of your process as someone that does basically both roughs and inking. When do you know? Oh, and by the way, I want to say, if anybody out there can find out what issue that is, please drop it in the comment section, because I'm dying to know, because that is hilarious. We need to find that image and throw it up.
It had a brown cover, and Jim Amish, however you pronounce his last name, inked the cover. I remember that.
Jim Amish. All right.
Amish, I think.
Jim, if you're out there, what was the issue number? So talk to me in terms of your process as someone that does both roughs and inks. How tight do you push the pencils before you start putting in blacks?
Oh man. Well, first thing is usually it's like I have a difficulty, a long time difficulty, my wife would say, that if I can't see it in my head, I just stew on it for a little bit until I figure it out. And then once it makes sense in my head, then I'll start doing thumbnails. Then I'll start like trying to figure out positioning, all that kind of stuff. My wife says on some things I take way too long. She's like, "You take way too long. You think about this way too hard." I'm like, no, it has to make sense to me. It has to be. It's like, to me, it's like almost like a song. It has to have a rhythm to it, and if it's not there, I just can't do it. So get the roughs, get the thumbnail going, decide on which one I want to do. Sometimes I do like 10, 20 thumbnails just to explore ideas. And then once I've got that one that's really set there, then I just start going to the paper and start hashing some things out, like basic shapes and form and things like that. If it's something that I'm like really, really, I feel like I've got it completely figured out, it'll be basic line work and then just go straight to inks. If it's something that I feel like I need to figure out a little bit more, maybe the idea has changed since I initially decided on it, then from there I'll go ahead and do a little bit more sketching out, things like that. But I mean, once the inking starts, it's like it's like the finishing touch. It's like I just keep going and going and going until I'm happy with it. And to John's point, a lot of times from the time I decide on something to the time I actually get done inking or whatever, a lot of times it will change. But I think that's the beauty of it. it's just that ability to be versatile with how the evolution process goes. And I mean, it's a beautiful thing. I love it. I love the whole process.
Well, Luke Holbrook, who's watching us right now on Facebook, asks an interesting question. He wants to know, like John, had anyone ever have an inker mess up their work? Well, we've heard from John, and we know that Jamie does his own inking. So let's flip that around and say, Mustafa, Joe, have you ever had a penciler upset with how you inked it?
Yeah. By the way, what John, or your question to John, you can't pencil a job tight enough for a bad inker, because they'll find a way to get you.
Absolutely right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, a very good penciler. He would, inkers are the not the last guy in the process, but we're close to the end of the relay race, and they very often expect us to catch up. So this one penciler, he did a job faster than he was comfortable with. And then when I inked it, he said, "Gee, I thought you'd add more to it." I said, "Is that my job?"
Yeah.
It's like, you didn't put it in. I was supposed to put it in. The job was running late.
Yeah.
Also, once I had an editor whose name would become named Andy Helfer, who I was inking Paul Galassi, first time ever. And I wanted to do it a certain way. And he said, "Oh, no, none of this thick and thin stuff, just one dead line." But no, he said, it's contemporary, it's modern. None of this thick, thin stuff, one dead line. And I inked it, and I thought it was wrong. And Galassi saw it and hated it and complained to the editor. And I tried to fix it. I think he's hated it ever since. And it's like, that's not the way I wanted to do it. And maybe I couldn't quit. I didn't want to quit. But it was not what I wanted to do. So yeah, he certainly hated it. So,
Mustafa?
So let's see. I remember my first real paying work. Like I would do work just with friends and stuff before, but my first paying work, I was like 18, and I was still kind of learning on the job. And the book, it was an Image book, or it was later published by Image, and it was a very kind of like anime influenced, like manga influenced. And back in '98, that was kind of a new thing. Like it wasn't like everywhere where it is now. And the way he would draw the eyes, he left it a little open, just a little, not a lot. And so I would just kind of close them up. And after a few pages, he was like, "Hey, you're closing up the eyes." I was like, "What? What are you talking?" Like I had no idea what he was talking about. I was like fixing them, and that's what I thought. And then I realized, like, oh no, that's his style. That's what I need to do. And so it was good. I mean, like they were saying earlier, like it's good to have a conversation. The pencilers and inkers to get what they want to do. I was doing a Fantastic Four book. I was talking about this the other day. I was doing a Fantastic Four book, and it had the Thing in it. And the guy who was doing it, Mike O'Hare, he comes from an animation background, very slick style, very not cartoony, but very animated, but just awesome artist. Great guy. And he would draw the Thing with like little rocks, like chunks falling off of him as he's talking. So he'd be like, he'd look and you see like little bits falling off of him. And so after a while, I was like, I'm not going to do that every panel, am I? Because then he wouldn't be anything left. It'd just be like some eyes. And so I did on a couple panels. I was like, okay, I'll just do it every third panel. I won't do it. And he was like, hey, you don't have the rocks coming off of them. And I realized like it's from that animation background. He wants it to look like it's moving, even though it's a still image. And he was right. He was right. It didn't make sense, but it's comic books and it's not supposed to make sense.
So you're saying the Thing has dandruff?
He had what's it called? Eczema.
Yeah. Pop rocks.
Or psoriasis.
Yeah. Psoriasis. Psoriasis. Yeah.
That's awesome. Lisa's watching. Joe, she just chimed in and said, "Yes, you have."
What?
You have made a penciler angry, which you already discussed.
Was that the question? Have I made one angry?
Well-
some of them didn't like what I did.
Yeah. Well,
That's not the same thing.
okay. I picked a simpler word. Let's move on. In terms of the resale, now, Joe, you said that in terms that an inked page is 40% worth of the pencils. Mustafa said
No. A blue line inked page is worth 40% of if it had been inked directly on the pencils, is what my art dealer has told me.
Oh, I see. So does a pen, if it's just type pencils, does that have more value than, say, if someone took a copy of that and inked it?
Totally depends on the artist.
It depends on everything. Maybe somebody just loves pencils all by themselves, and somebody, I mean, I've had stuff bought where, Neil Adams, you've heard of him. I think he's still alive. When he did those
hanging
alternate
on.
covers for DC, if you call
Who was
that, when he did those alternate covers for DC, and somebody bought the Wonder Woman cover, and they had me ink it, because they just
Who was
didn't
this show?
being unfinished. What?
Who was this?
A client.
Oh, okay. I thought you said a
Bought one
particular
of
artist. I'm
Neil's.
sorry.
I
One of
was
Neil.
not-
Okay.
Yeah, I was not allowed to ink any of them. I was on the don't allow to ink list. I think there was one of us. And so the guy bought it anyway and got me to ink it, which was basically FU. And, I thought it turned out nicely.
You inked it directly on the pencils?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did I?
Take that, Adams.
Maybe maybe I didn't. I can't remember, but I definitely did a version of it. Yeah.
So from what I've found, if it's production art, if it's art that's getting published, for me, I set it at the price that it would be if it was original pencils and not blue line, because that is the final image. And some people, they might not want to buy it, but somebody will. And so I don't sell it for cheaper. I just find the person who wants to buy it.
And that brings up a debate. The finished art is not what you were selling. The finished art is the colored page.
That is true.
So people have bought originals and had me color them, and other people are outraged because I've basically, cut up the Bible or the Mona Lisa. And when John or Jamie, you draw a page, you anticipate the color. There's going to be a mood set. Sometimes it's storytelling. Sometimes the colors become more intense as the action goes. So my assertion is that a black and white comic book page is not finished. It was never meant to stay in that form. And if somebody wants me or somebody good to color it, I don't have a problem with that. But an awful lot of collectors do.
So my approach has always been it's finished in the black and white, because that guy that you mentioned, the Neil guy, Adams, I think, his colors were okay on his books he worked on. But if you look at his black and white stuff, holy crap, it's amazing. And the way he drew it, the way he had it finished, it looked done in black and white. And the colors almost do a disservice to his art.
And that's bad coloring. What if?
And also the technology from back then, it just wasn't
right. And also, since you are a black and white inker, you love seeing the intricacies of what's going on before the color covered it up. But I did a sequence in Captain America where Captain America's about to take a shield and cut Baron Blett's head off.
Yep.
And as the camera zooms in to his face, the colors changed. Now, looking at it, it's like, it's a face. Okay. But the other one, in effect, Brent Anderson told me that he thinks of coloring as being music in a finished movie soundtrack. Okay. So that if you're watching a love scene and it's got all this romantic music in it, that's one thing. But if they play like a Sousa march, it's kind of a whole other scene with a whole other commentary going on, So it is thought of as a totality. And again, I don't mind the artwork being colored, the originals, if it's done by a good person, but that's a big if. So.
Well, and then also, you can look at pencilers, inkers, colorists, you can look at them as members of a band. And there's some bands that just have the singer, the drummer, and the guitarist, no bass player, no keyboard, and it sounds great. So some need the colors and some don't.
Oh, pardon me.
Bless you.
Thank you. I think I didn't mean to end that conversation with a sneeze.
Fill your boots with some Kleenex, man.
I know.
Exclamation.
I know. Maybe I may have to step out. Oh, thank you, Basil. Appreciate it. Basil said, "Bless you." Let's drift over into coloring since we've organically gone that way. And Joe said something interesting: how colors can ruin a drawing. And Mustafa, you gave a prime example of that with Neil Adams covers. Let's talk about your own work, Jamie. We're going to circle back to you, and you got to be careful in this answer because your lovely wife does your colors. Talk to me about the process of the transition and how you go about it with your lovely wife. Hi, Trish.
Oh, hi.
There you go.
I knew it. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Vera, otherwise known as Jamie's wife.
Okay, so the thing about the coloring is my wife is so much better at like color combinations, selecting colors, everything like that. I mean, I wear black a lot, so it tells you I'm not good at the color thing, dude.
Swimming.
So yeah, there we go. Yeah, especially for me, that's a good thing. But she does a lot of like the base colors, selects the colors, puts them down. And then I take over on the finishes. But even during that process, she'll tell me right away, she's like, that doesn't look good. You need to fix that. You need to shade it higher, shade softer, whatever. I don't really feel comfortable finishing a piece or anything like that unless I get her buy-in. Like if she's on board, then I know it's okay. But yeah,
happy wife, happy life. Now that is a true partnership.
Oh yeah.
And do you, Jamie, take this wife in colors and pencils and inks? I do. John, let's go over to you in terms of as you drawing, because you're conceiving the image and the layout before you're handing it off. Do you think in color at all?
Sometimes, yeah. Well, a lot. But I always think my preference for comic color is usually, even if you have all the tools, you don't have to use them all at the same time, because I don't like a lot of what they're doing today. They're doing too much. Mm-hmm. It's almost like the way wrestling is. You don't have to do every move all the time. Slow it down a little. Let people enjoy the ride. One of the best colored comics, at least comic events I ever remembered, was The Dark Knight Returns, the 4-part series back in the 80s. They had full capability to do all the special effects. They didn't knock you over with every panel. There was the panel where Superman gets hit by the lightning, and that was full tilt boogie, and it worked. But if they'd done it in every panel, if you have steak every day, you want a cheeseburger once in a while. So I always visualize minimalism. I always hope for like a little bit of color here and there. And then when there's an event panel, a money shot, then go hog wild when it's needed. I haven't always gotten that. Sometimes I do. I will make notes. I'll suggest when I'm able to talk to somebody. And obviously, with some of the pieces we've done the past year, we've had art direct the heck out of a couple of people a couple of times. We've gotten a better product out of it.
Well, here, give me an example of a piece that you've done with us that's available on MBartist.com that you turned out exactly the way you envisioned it. And give me one that you just went, wow, that is way beyond what I thought it was going to be, and you were happy with it.
The Boba Fett thing blew me away. We had to jockey it a little bit, but boy, I'll tell you, once he got there, he got there. That was just wow. Again, the X-Men piece that we talked about a little while ago, that was we had art direct the heck out of it. But once he got steered, I mean, my God, it's great. The Star Wars piece that I don't think you've shown anybody yet, except maybe us, the cover that you and I discussed yesterday. That thing is that blows me away. We had a couple little tweaks with it. Absolutely awesome. One that just came out perfect from the get-go was the Spider-Man piece. That one, the dangling Spider-Man. Yeah. That was just dead solid, perfect from the get-go.
Awesome, Jamie. Same question to you. Give me a piece that you've done on MBartist.com that turned out exactly the way that you envisioned, and then give me one that really blew you away because it really went in a different direction, but you were happy with it.
Okay, so I would say a piece that was above and beyond my expectations. Probably the Wiz comics I just finished. I would say that's probably the one that went above and beyond.
Yeah, that came out great.
And then
It was a great whiz.
There you go.
Nothing like a good whiz.
and then one that I didn't anticipate. Sorry, one that I didn't anticipate. That turned out pretty cool. I thought was wow. I guess probably the I'd say probably one of the villains. I want to say probably the Shredder. I didn't anticipate it going that direction or anything like that, but once it was finished, I was like, this is pretty cool.
See, that's the ride. That's the ride. You're just along for it, but it happened. And sometimes that's very cool.
Yeah.
Mustafa, let's drop down to you. Pick one piece that you've done that's on MBartist.com that turned out exactly the way you wanted. And then give me one that, and I actually shared the Star Wars piece if Eric wants to throw it up there when he gets a second.
You mentioned Star Wars. So the reason Hedwin Zaldivar is my favorite colorist is because he, look at that.
Wow.
Does that look awesome?
Woo! That's great.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
This is ready to go, guys. Look at that.
Is that Sanju? Yeah.
Yes, that is Sanju.
His signature. Yep. Yeah, he is awesome.
See, if you throw enough paint and special effects on my stuff, it really does look okay.
You know what I call that, John? That's a lot of ketchup, my friend.
Yeah.
A lot of what?
That's an evergreen, is what that is.
It's awesome. It's beautiful.
Yeah, that'll sell no matter where you are.
Thank
Oh
you.
yeah, I want to get that as a bus stop for MegaCon.
Yeah. Well, okay, speaking of Star Wars, so anyway, anything Hedwin does, I don't have to really tweak. He has most of the stuff behind me here. And again, I talk about it. I work in black and white. I see things in black and white. And then if there's color, that's fine. And there's things that he did that I just didn't see. Like the Wonder Woman, how it's got the blue and orange contrast. I mean, it's popular. It's in every movie poster, but I didn't see it for that particular piece. The Star Wars one, he sent me a half finished version where like it was before all of the bells and whistles, and I was like, oh, this isn't going to be very good at all. And then I saw the finished thing, and I was like, oh, this is amazing. That's awesome.
Here's Jamie's finished whiz.
Oh wow! Oh, that is great.
Oops.
Hey, Steve, is my whiz piece colored?
Your whiz is with Sanju right now, so it should be done shortly.
Okay. That's a hell of a whiz, Jamie.
Yeah, thank you. It's a big whiz.
I envy your whiz.
Well, his wife always says he's a whiz kid.
Oh, jeez.
That's either my favorite or second favorite whiz of all time.
All right, I'm all whizzed out.
The
All right.
other one was a Halloween night whiz alongside an interstate with a guy dressed as Randy Macho Man Savage and another guy in a Klan suit sharing a whiz.
Oh my gosh.
All right, sorry about that. You were talking about
True story.
this. Is this the Star Wars villains you're talking about?
Yeah, the Darth Vader and Boba Fett. Yeah. I saw the preview and I was like, oh, this is very flat, and oh, it's amazing now. So yeah, anything he does is great. Yeah.
And what's one that you thought that came back and it was like it blew your mind in terms of you didn't even think it was going to be like that? That's the villains one.
Yeah, I would say that was the first thing I ever had him color, and I was like, okay, this is my go-to guy from now on. He takes a while, but he's great.
Yeah, he doesn't return my calls.
You gotta get on a list, I guess. I don't know.
It's a long list. So I'll find the villains here so that we can throw that up. Joe, same question to you. Do you have a piece that you've done that's up on MBartist.com that matched your vision, and do you have one that just kind of blew you away when you got it back? Well, you do
the
most of
bristles,
yours, so
the fluff of the water.
I guess they alternate the way you want it.
Well,
Where the bristles are, yes.
I mean, not true. I don't know that any artist gets exactly what they wanted. I mean, it's like you get close, or maybe you don't, or maybe the thing changes direction on you, and like, everybody's talking about. It's like it's got to be improvisational. It's like, oh, look where the piece is going. I better stop, let go of what I thought I was doing, and do what's coming out. I mean, I look at my paintings. I go, it's okay, but it's not, Rembrandt, Vermeer, Velasquez, whatever. As far as the computer stuff, George Lucas talked about the fact that when people make a science fiction movie and they spend all this money on the sets, they seem to feel the need to show you the sets.
Great, thank you.
And they shouldn't be, because they should just be like, okay, they're there. So colorists on my work have done things that I didn't know was possible, because I'm not a computer guy and blur effects and shines and crap like that. But the problem is that they always very often want to show how they can make everything happen, and every muscle has its own light source. And by the way, the light on the ankle is the same way on the forehead, and no, it's not. And I don't want to look at the damn ankle. Can you let it, So more often than not, it's another metaphor for it is you may have a lot of spices in the kitchen, but you don't have to use all of them for one.
Right. And that's what I just said. If you can have a Ferrari in your garage, but do you have to drive at 150 miles an hour all the time, or can you just run down to the corner to drop off a letter?
I think it's just, oh, I can do this, so I'm going to do this. Oh, I want to keep the job, so I'm going to show them how great I do it. And I don't know any of the colorists personally, so I don't know their history in art. But I think if they worked more from life and understood what was going on, one of the problems with comic book coloring is somebody will color Superman, let's say, flying through the sky, and there's no hint of blue on his costume from the sky. They don't understand that there's an environment that's affecting the reality of the situation. They just make a guy paste it on a background. And when I color, I try to take into account that there is a unifying color light source that permeates everything to give it a totality. And the stuff from MBartist, some of it's been great. Some of it's like, I never thought of that. I didn't know you could do that. That's a nice thing. And others have been, calm down.
Yeah.
Okay. We need a little less to direct the eye where it's important. So.
There you go. So I found there's your villains.
Yeah, that's the thing I didn't bring enough of to Washington this past weekend.
Yeah, it's a big seller. We actually sold a bunch of them over the weekend with the German auction we did. It was a great time.
I know that my Christmas shopping is done.
Yeah. Yeah, so if you just notice like how he has the black fading into the red, because Darth Vader's permanently black. They're in space. Space is black. But he has this red fading off of him, or the sky, fading into him. I didn't indicate it. That was all him. That was great.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm trying to get one of Joe's. It's too pixelated. That's too bad. But this doesn't do it justice. But Joe, I love that. Every time I see you hold this piece up, I'm always in awe how awesome this is.
Thanks.
All right, we'll leave it at that. Okay. All right, it's top of the hour, so let's do a reset. Ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank you. If you just joined us, you missed an hour discussion about inks and original roughs and the transition and communication, all that type of fun stuff. I think it's been a great conversational hour, but we're going to do a reset. We want to thank you for joining us. This is MBartist Alley Live. We are the creators of MBartist. We've got Jamie Coker, Villainous Villains Extraordinaire. How many art prints are left of the Shredder?
Oh boy. I'm not even sure at this point.
Five.
Okay.
5 art prints and 7 platinums left on the road to being our first sold out art print, guys, because we only do 100 of each piece. We do 100 art prints, 100 platinums, and 100 canvases, and that's it. So we got Jamie with us. We've got John Hebert. We just showed his Star Wars piece, which is going to be, it's available for pre-sale right now, but we'll be able to fulfill those orders probably in the next couple of weeks, John, because that is some sweet looking stuff. X-Men and Punisher artist from Marvel. We got Mustafa, inker from Marvel and DC, who's having currently a seizure with his eyebrows. And Joe Rubenstein, legendary inker. And you know what, guys, if you get a chance, check out his website because his paintings are phenomenal. I'm looking at his Star Wars right there. I see his Star Wars painting right there. And right over there. Where? Over there.
Well, I'm glad you're sharing. Okay.
I am. I'm sharing. Here you go. See? There you go. Right there it is.
Yeah, it's great.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, don't mind. Iron Man's protecting it.
Right.
But I walked by. It was in production, and we were cleaning up the background and the line work for the reproduction pieces. So that's going to be going out the door in the next couple of weeks as well, folks. So if you pre-ordered those 2 Star Wars pieces, they're finally ready to go. So they'll be coming into your mailbox. Well, hopefully not shoved in your mailbox, but your UPS delivery man will be bringing it to you shortly, hopefully. But we've got Joe with us as well.
Who got shoved into a mailbox earlier today, so I'm feeling a little fulfilled.
Well, it happens when you're short, Joe.
That's true.
Oh, I'm sorry, man.
I'm sorry you Canadians have this inferiority complex, but it's well deserved.
Well, that's okay. We walk by you in our garden every day.
Okay. Anyway.
All right. So, as we do, everybody, we have featured art prints. So let's throw them up. It's time to do a reset because we are artists. And we like to starve. We don't like to starve, so we're going to push some Bart prints here. We've got Bob McLeod's Fantastic Four, and I think he spent his 12 minutes with us on his deck again. We have Chad Harden's Hellbringers.
I saw the original to that this weekend. It's beautiful.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Is it available and for sale?
It is available for sale, people.
Oh, hit them up, ladies and gentlemen. We have Francine Delgado Star Wars, who's stuck in a Barbie production meeting.
I miss Francine. I miss not knowing what she's saying.
Jamie Coker's Nickelodeon Tunes with What's Up? James C. Mulligan's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. No dropping in for him this week.
It's based on a personal experience he had in a bar in Soho, he told me.
Joe, you want to tell us the story on this piece?
Yeah. You know.
No?
A bunch of guys. I actually did every one of those individually for a client. I think he was giving them to Stan Lee, as a matter of fact. And then I thought, well, let's put it all together, and there they be. So.
I think you did this for specifically for C2E2 2020, wasn't it? Just before COVID hit?
It all blends together. You know, drugs are a terrible thing to waste.
Yeah.
They are. Well, you know what Robin Williams says, if you remember the 70s, you weren't really there. John, we've got your X-Men, original versus extra spicy.
Yeah, extra crispy. Yeah, and for a while the ice slide was extra brown. There it is, yeah.
Sandman. All right, what we got? We got Mustafa's 80s mashup. And Babar.
Cool.
That's 6 months I'll never get back. Anyways, guys, there's our 9 featured art prints for today. If you're asking Steve, how can I get one of these fine, fabulous pieces of art? Well, I'm about to tell you. Either A, you can comment or ask a question during the show, and the lovely Love G is going to be pulling a name out of the hat, and you could win one of these art prints, and she will get a hold of you. We will announce it at the end of the show. Hopefully you are here and you can pick whichever one you want. Number 2, you can just say claim Rubenstein, and Love G will get a hold of you and ask you which one you want, and ippity boppity boo, away you go. And then finally, if you go to MBartist.com and you fill your cart, not your boots, apparently Mustafa doesn't like that, he's very offended by that phrase, If you fill your cart with any one of these pieces during checkout and use the very complicated promo code free shipping, you will get exactly as it states. Those are the 3 ways you can get our fine art prints here. And blah, 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 yada, yada. Let's get back to the show. All right. Oh, Ara says she finally received her Uncanny X-Men piece by Hebert a few days ago. Really amazing. Ara, we're happy you got it. There you go. John says thank you. I say thank you. Joe doesn't care, but we do.
Mr. Hebert.
Yes.
Do you agree? I used to be Wally Wood's assistant, and for all of you out there who don't know who Wally Wood is, look him up. I will have done you a great service. Woody said, if I'd known I was going to do this the rest of my life, I would have developed this style more like Charles Schulz.
Yeah, I can understand that, especially Woody. I mean, his tech stuff, not only just incredibly rendered, but lit perfectly all the time. There was shadow on everything.
So when you're there on your 14th hour of rendering somebody's leather jacket, do you say, I wish I had learned this style more like Charles Schulz?
Oh, yeah. Especially with everybody doing, so many people doing the anime stuff and whatnot now. I look at stuff and there's almost no black there. There's no line. It's so simple and the color fills it in. Yeah. And I think I kind of beat myself up. I was always at the wrong place at the wrong time with the wrong birth control, you know?
Why don't you start a style under a phony name like Gwendolyn St. Croix? And see
I like this. Isn't that a porn name?
It could be. It wasn't. It was my porn name, and you can use it now. But
mine was Miles O'Toole.
Good. Mine was Jack Hammer, but Ryan Otley, he has that monster style, and he has that invincible style. So he goes from the really built up to the very outliney, you know.
Well, it's funny because Woody also taught Mike Zeck, and then Mike Zeck taught me. So we all kind of have the same. There's a connection there, you know.
You're the grandson. I'm the direct.
Right? Yeah, I'm the bastard child, the black sheep. But you know.
What about a guy like Michael Golden? Like if you look at his older stuff compared to his stuff. Well, I mean, I love his older stuff too. But like if you compare his older stuff to his more modern stuff, he's got more
simple. Yeah.
More economy of lines. Yeah. So he's doing it.
Most mature artists, if you look at Vermeer or you even look at Rembrandt, they get simpler as they get older. They don't necessarily get simple, because Rembrandt was incredible, but he had a rendering style as a kid that he distilled down. I don't know if it's you get tired of rendering or you just think there's a directer way to make the statement. But
I think it's a little
unless you're stuck in your style for 30 years, most good artists like Alex Toth, get simpler.
Well, I mean, what about Art Adams? Art Adams was pretty detailed in the 80s and is crazy detailed now.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what makes him happy. But but
or Jim Lee.
You look a lot of the evolution of it. Firstly, an artist should evolve, right?
Yeah.
But more often than not, they don't get better, but some do, and some just distill down to the essence.
Okay, look at our friend Mr. Sienkiewicz. He was totally Neil Adams when you were inking him, Joe.
Yep.
And then by the end of his Moon Knight run, he started to become Ralph Steadman, and by the time he was on New Mutants, he was Ralph Steadman.
Right.
And
a few other people.
And a few other people, but that's basically the distillation of it.
Did either of you know why he evolved in that direction?
Why he went in that direction?
Yeah.
Sienkiewicz?
Because he could.
I think it was his natural state, and he did what they thought he was supposed to do, and then he did his own thing.
Well,
I think
he did
probably right
because he thought it was a sellable style.
Right.
I mean, the thing is,
like Barry Smith, right?
Let him evolve.
Yep.
I don't think any editor went, "What's this Ralph Steadman crap? Stop it! Go back to who you were doing." And
because by that point he was Bill.
Sources,
By that point he was Bill, and right. Bill was Brand.
Right. I mean, there's also he was doing Sergio Topi, and so was Dennis Cowan, and so Bill became a great inker for Dennis because he understood where it was coming from. And the interesting thing is, speaking of Neil Adams, is Neil brought modern illustration looks and techniques into comic books where they had been stagnant for 10 or 20 years by that point. And that's what Bill did. Bill brought modern illustrators' looks into comic books, and that started to let other people be more creative and expressive with their work.
Absolutely. Now, do you remember when he was doing the bumpers for MTV's New Fall Season for a couple of years?
I don't know that I ever saw them, but I heard he was.
Oh, Neil Allen?
No, Bill.
No, Bill.
Oh, was he?
84, 85, 86 or 85, 86, 87. It was a couple of years there. There was a real conduit from Marvel to MTV for a while, especially if you're a woman and weren't going to go any higher at Marvel, you could go over to MTV and be a producer. And around that point, Bill was doing it was the beginning of the end of videos for MTV. They started doing some other shows, other programming and stuff. And at the very end of the summers, they would always start doing, MTV's New Fall Season. And I remember seeing these black, splattery, scratchy, Stedman-looking pieces. And and they're kind of partially animated, if I remember. A lot of blacks in them. And I remember going, man, that looks like Sienkiewicz's stuff. Well, it was. And he did that for at least 2 years, I think. 2 different seasons, maybe 3. And it was like real cool, because the end of the summer's coming. I wonder, there it is, and I like that better than the videos.
Right.
I want to circle back to what Joe said in terms of how artists try to look for simplistic forms. And I want to throw out a name and get your feedback on this one. John Romita Jr.
Right.
Because he's very polarizing right now in terms of his style. Like there's sometimes I see his covers and I just want to throw an anatomy book at him, like the thickest and hardest one I can find. What do you guys think in terms of the evolution? Because if you look, he did his famous one of his famous covers is the first appearance of Hobgoblin, which is very well known and often lifted.
And his father inked it, if you remember right. The very first.
Is that John Romita inked that?
J.R. Sr. inked that first appearance of Hobgoblin. And so, I mean, back then, J.R. was he was wonderful, but he was doing a more natural, normal comic book style. He didn't go wild with his look yet. That was later. I mean, remember he was doing Iron Man, and he became a fan favorite, and I'm going to sneeze in a minute. And then he did Spider-Man. His stuff really started to evolve at some point when he was on his X-Men run. And the last few years, he's really gone, I don't want to say off the rails, because some of the stuff is just really cool and it's his own style. But yeah, some of the look is a little hard to palate at first.
Well, Stephen, you said simplistic, and that's not what I was talking about at all. Simplify, economic, right? And John started as a fairly typical derivative comic book artist, and then somewhere along the line, and I even spoke to him about this once. He never wanted to be Kurt Swan or Frank Frazetta. He wasn't about being a draftsman. He was about being a designer, and that starts being about shapes against shapes and simplifying it down. I find his stuff fascinating and interesting, and I understand why people are polarized. But on the other hand, who's the artist? Alex Toth. I mean, people who know what they're doing look at Alex Toth and go, "This is genius," and people who don't go, "Oh, where's the details? This isn't very real," And when you try to do it, it's the old saying I keep using. A guy wrote a letter to his friend, and he said, "I have to apologize because I didn't have enough time to write a shorter letter." It's.
Mustafa, you kind of cracked up there in the middle of that. What was the?
I was reading the comment that Ara left. It's pretty good. Yeah, exactly. I mean, we got in the weeds a little bit with some artists from back in the day, but yeah. Yeah, 6 degrees of comic book artists.
Yeah, sorry, Ara. We're basically making it all about us today, I guess. Last week we did all the pop culture stuff. We talked about Disney stuff, Disney Plus, and Marvel, and MCU, and DCU, and all that type of stuff. This week I wanted to really get nitty gritty in terms of process and
just get rid of all of our viewers, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Sure.
Shed them like skin. Shed them like the Thing's rocks from the Thing's face.
Well, if we can't entertain ourselves, who can we entertain?
But enough about me. What do you think of me?
Yes.
What do I think of you? You pain in the ass.
Imitating my mom will get you nowhere.
John, I have always told you you are the industry's best kept secret, and I look forward to flaunting you like a new girlfriend when we get to MegaCon. I'm
not going to be at MegaCon.
UltraCon. Did I say MegaCon?
UltraCon.
It's a con.
I'm in
It's a con.
Florida.
It's a con. Maybe I'll convince you to come down a couple weeks early. Maybe
You're
come
gonna fly
2
me to the
weeks. You
Cape?
know that? Huh?
I'm gonna be drunk on a beach at the Cape that week.
Oh, there you go. Oh wow. All right. Well, we'll tell you all about it when we're drunk at MegaCon.
Ah,
So, anyways, it's 20 after. It's time to do our draw. Winner, chicken dinner. Let's see who we got. Love Jeet. Please bring the envelope. But I don't know about you guys. I've really enjoyed the conversation today. I think there's been a very good flow, and I've really been keeping the whiz references to a minimum.
but why? There's a fun.
But why? Good grief, Charlie Brown. We have a winner, and he is a regular. Congratulations. I'm going to hold it up. Let's see if he's here. Let's see what he picks. Here it comes. It's getting closer. Oh, look at that. Just like the Star Wars scroll. Basil, you're a winner, chicken dinner.
It is a dark time for MBartist.
It was a dark and stormy night.
Dark and
There's
stormy.
our 9 featured art prints. Basil, if you are here, please pick one. Anyone. Trust me, John will not feel bad if you pick someone other than his.
Nope.
Yes, you win, sir. You win. All the way from lovely Milton, Ontario. He's so close I can touch him.
Uh-oh.
Which one do you pick, Basil?
But there's a court order, isn't there?
Les Gardiens, please. He has thrown some of the French Canadian accent. He says, I would like Monsieur Rubinstein's Gardien de Galaxie. Mais oui, monsieur.
Even after I insulted your entire country, that's very big of you.
It is a big country.
Yeah.
Anyways, so ladies and gentlemen, that is our winner is Basil, and he has picked Joe Rubinstein's Guardians of the Galaxy. Congratulations, Basil. We hope you enjoy it. If you're up this way, just stop by the office. I kid. He's actually an hour and a half away. Anyways, congratulations on that. There we go. Any final thoughts before we wrap it up, guys? I think we jumped around pretty good. Is there any examples of artists that went the other way? Like you did a great one, Mustafa, in terms of Arthur Adams, where he got more complex.
I think Jim Lee too. Silvestri.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know there's a guy out there named Stephen Platt who did Moon Knight in the 90s. And I really hated it. I couldn't stand that, but I've seen the stuff he's doing online now.
He learned less is more. Yeah, he's great.
But he also learned how to draw, period, I think.
Well, yeah, I mean that too, yeah.
Yeah.
And then you can go the other way, and you can get that guy who likes pockets and doesn't draw feet.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Spartan
to be
Field.
honest, some things he does now is way better than the stuff he did in the mid-90s.
Yeah,
Like Captain America's
what's
chest.
better, gonorrhea or syphilis?
That's fair.
Thank you.
I'll skip both of those, and I'll take herpes for the block.
All right. Have we got anal fissures? Anal fissures anymore?
Oh my God, no.
No, but I've dated Carrie.
And Amy.
Anyways, now we've resorted to fishing for jokes. Pardon me.
Anal
Joe.
fishing.
Yes.
Hey, can we do a show and tell?
Ara thinks that's disgusting, and
Then my job is done.
this is a PG-13. I don't know. Anyways,
Good night, folks.
yeah. No, we got 8 minutes to kill. Joe, you were talking about how people finding a easier or a more economic way to draw and get their point across. Do you have a philosophy as to why someone would go the other way to be more complicated?
No, but I mean, I assume it's just, you have to ask yourself, what does more complicated mean? Wedging in more details? It's like, for instance, Craig Russell. Craig Russell had a very comic booky style when he started, and he eventually wound up to a more decorative, designy style. I don't know. I mean, I've always, when I started inking, I think my work is simpler now because I didn't have to render everything. And I understood one stroke doesn't have to have 14 strokes behind it and all that stuff.
Yeah. Less noodling.
Yeah, but you could almost say that Bill Sienkiewicz's stuff got more complex because then he did get into the splatter and the crosshatch and the white paint and the roller and all that sort of stuff because he just wanted something different. He once told me he can't render anymore. He can't stand it. And I spent a day at a convention doing sketches, and at the end I had to do a Moon Knight sketch, Ghost Rider sketch. And I went, I can't do another one of these. And I picked up a big brush and I started to wail away at it. And it's a better picture because of it, because I became more expressive with how I put my ink down. And that's something Bill was looking for, I guess, how to get the point across.
Well, let's wrap this show up, just going around the wheel and asking each of you the following questions. And we were talking about the evolution of an artist in terms of becoming either more economical or more complex.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go around to each of you and tell me which way you think you guys have gone, complex or economical, and why. And Jamie, we'll start with you.
Complex, I would say.
Why?
I think to the point when I would draw, when I was younger, I hated shading of any kind. Didn't want to do it. I was like, let me just draw this thing and I'm done with it. And then as time went on, I just kept thinking that everything I was drawing was looking flat. Everything I was drawing looked one-dimensional and just crappy. And I just was like, I just need to sit down and just learn that lesson, eat some humble pie, and just accept that you've got to do some shading, some blacks, make it more visually interesting than just, hey, I drew something. And I think that doing a lot of the extra line work has benefited a lot of what I do greatly.
Mustafa.
So the question is, would I rather go really detailed or really simple?
No. In terms of your evolution from when you started to now, do you think you've evolved to be more economical or more complex, as we were discussing with other people, and why?
So it's not a cop-out, but it depends on the piece. What you're working on might call for, I'm sorry, but you want a real answer. Some things call for very complex things. Now, when I look at stuff that I did when I was like 19 or 20, I'm pretty happy with it. I'm pretty proud of it. There's lines that I didn't have much confidence in. So like you could tell, like maybe the line wasn't as bold as I would have liked it to be now. But maybe I did a little bit more noodling, like Joe was talking about. But I don't know. It's pretty much the same. Like my style from 12 to 18 is definitely different, but from when I started to now is about the same. It's just about the piece. If I'm doing an animated, character, or if I'm doing a crazy detailed character.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. Obviously, the script I sent you was no good. Joe.
Yeah, I do it.
Well, it's similar to what Mustafa said, because as an inker, I'm not going to grab an Arthur Adams page and simplify it because he didn't ask for it.
Yeah.
But I remember when I wanted to figure out how to do hair in a simple way when I started. And then I realized it's not simple. Some things have to be more complicated. Some things have to have more detail. And then it's a juxtaposition of the simple against the complicated, like non-color color. So some areas you want to get some activity with the line work so that the eye is drawn to it. In other areas you want to play down. So it's not equally, there's some, Frazetta knew how to focus with lighting, color, composition. There's people who try to do Frazetta who don't know what they're doing and render everything everywhere, and you have no idea where you should be looking. So
That's cool. And guys, look who's
Fran
back. Fran.
Oh, we miss you too, Fran.
Which print do you want, Fran?
Fran, you're too late. We already did the draw. John, we're gonna end with you in terms of how you feel you've evolved.
I'd like to say my stuff has gotten more economical. I've tried to make it that way, but somehow it still comes out pretty rendered and pretty excessive at times. I feel good about putting everything into it. Maybe it's because I do so much less art now than I used to when it was a full-time thing. If I'd continued as I was, maybe I would have been, again, more economical, more simplified, more towards hopefully someone like Alex Todd. But it ended, and then I sat it out for so many years, didn't even pick up a pencil for, what was it, 4 or 5 years, and then started doing stuff again. And now I'm doing, these pieces for you and a few other clients, and I just, it's almost like my batteries recharged, and I just can't help but do everything that I can, which is what we discussed a little while ago.
No, and your stuff, if I may, since you have started, it's almost like you can see your confidence starting to go up in each piece because it's just coming out in the piece. The piece just looks more confident in it. You could tell in terms of the line work. For me, I have gotten both complex and economical from the standpoint that just repeating in the pencil mileage. Like I can instinctually throw down a hand or a tendon and have it connect properly into a bicep and structure and perspective, just because you do it for so many years, it just becomes instinctual. It's in there, it, and then you oh, look at that, talk about stealing the show. Ladies and gentlemen, look at the crash last minute. Good night, everybody. No, it's just
last minute, but I'm here. Yay!
All right. Before we go, I'm going to let Francine answer that question before we go. But John, we got homework for you, specifically from Ara. She wants to know if you can find that X-Men number, the Adventures X-Men, where the guy actually left the X's in. We want, for next week, figure out where that is so that we can Google it and throw it up.
I'll find it.
All right, sounds good. Francine, the question was, for $500 and the block, has your style over the years become more economical or more complex, and why?
I'll say more complex, because when I start drawing, I was drawing anime and manga, and that is a super economical style. So as I was growing more into art, I was developing, I won't say a more American style, but a more complex style. And then lately, I have been trying to make it a little bit economical again. It's a mix.
That's good. And we appreciate you for stopping by. Guys, you know what? If you're going to go out, go with a smile. So thank you, Francine, for joining us. And we'll see you next time from the Great White North and all points in between. And just a reminder, I saw Irving jumped in here. We will be at UltraCon the last weekend of August, where we, the creators of MBartist, will be launching our UltraCon exclusive line of Wiz comics. All right. Good night, everybody. Thank you.